Welcome back. This is another episode in the series of my old text, old sketchbook drawings. Let me start that over. Welcome back. This is another episode of Zach's old sketchbook tours right here. Just to kind of show where I've come from and how my interests evolved and how things became better and how I began to respond to things that were outside of my standard, right? So let's take a look at this one. This is yet another one. I think early 2000s, possibly as early as 1999, but definitely 1999 to 2000, possibly maybe 1998. That's a stretch though. That's stretchy. So let's open it up, take a look. All right, awesome. My Jedi character, the dreamed up lightsaber design right there. I'll get it a little bit closer. You can see what the lightsaber design looks like. Pretty neat. And my favorite thing, a very good friend of mine back then had over her shoulder a sheath, but instead of arrows, she had a sheath of flowers, and some of which are the birds of paradise flowers I was imagining being in there. But cool thing, I love my pants design here. Boots with straps, that was like the most enviable thing from the 90s. I wish I had arms like that now, still. Actually had a lot more muscular arms back when I was practicing independent martial arts with my buddies back in the early 2000s. But always wish I had this black, straight hair that would be shaped like that. Never did work out. Okay, so I think I found a photo of Sarah Michelle Gellar and the sketch of that. I always found myself, and even still to this day, a little bit disappointed when I have to use a reference at all. It's one thing when there's a person in front of you. I feel like that's a little bit different. But when there's a photo right next to it, or I'm looking up at a computer screen, I always feel like that's cheating just a little. I feel like it should be from memory. I'm not sure exactly why. But I feel like I didn't actually capture her look here. Definitely in the nose, but look at the hair and that shading there. That was definitely something I would consider a success. All right, I'm gonna tread carefully as I turn pages here. Let's see what we got here. In the future Jedi Samurai meditation phase. Definitely got into Star Wars, definitely got into the Asian arts for sure. I don't know which one led to what. Bruce Lee, hearing about Bruce Lee and seeing Ninja Turtles on television got me interested in martial arts that direction, long before I got interested in Star Wars. So I think they were colliding at this point in my life. This was a vision of the future. I had a friend who wanted to become a Catholic priest, and I drew this symbol that he had seen in a dream in the night sky constellations. I kind of drew my version of a dark-haired version of him as a priest in the future. Kind of cool. Here's an outfit that I designed and wanted to execute. I think I made the top. The pants, of course, were just cargo pants because nothing was better than cargo pants. Okay, so this character is from the original black and white Godzilla film. Yokodachi, I think, was the doctor's name that created the oxygen destroyer. And it actually killed Godzilla by the end of the movie. It was like proof. He didn't just fall into the water, roll into the water, and the water bubbled, and then he showed up in the next sequels. But in this one, you actually saw his skeleton appear, and Yokodachi was the Japanese doctor behind the invention of the oxygen destroyer, which is really cool. In a recent Godzilla movie, they brought that weapon back. Here's my hand. Possibly one of the first times I drew myself as I actually look. Just put my hand here and began to draw. I even drew, if you could look real close there, the pores in my fingers. Lots of detail, a lot more abnormal detail than I would normally draw. Of course, what? I don't draw animals. This is cray. Yeah, and of course my signature, always starting with Jedi. But yeah, the shading, just worked on shading. And this was a big change, right? I'm pretty sure I was copying this from a book that my little sister was reading or something. The deadleaf mantis. Mantises are cool. You can't argue with this information that I'm telling you right now. And again, executing a design, the tunic, the Jedi tunic. Check this out. I was doing this at a very, very young age, designing costumes, and I actually, in my mid to late teenage years, began learning how to sew. Maybe not knowing all the lingo, but I was so interested in it when I would go to this local tailor somewhere nearby to rent a tuxedo for one of the 3 proms I got to go to. It was, again, very odd for a homeschooling boy. But I was offered an internship and had to turn it down because I was going to Latvia shortly after that. Oh, cool. Done with a pen, and not just any pen. This looked like one of those dipping quill pens, the fake ones where you just plug in this little vial of ink in the back, and you can draw as if it's with that. I don't know what the kind of pens are called, the front splits when you press on it, lets out ink. But this turned really cool. Check it out. The abs on Bruce Lee, Musashi, surrounded by just sticks, kind of drawn after the style of the old Japanese drawings of Musashi. And I think this was, what is this? This looks like a piece of grass, but this is the 5 rings, the 5 elements of Musashi's book, the Book of 5 Rings. And Yushiba, master of Aikido, no eyes. I actually think I just left that because it was a cool looking style. So again, trying different styles with pen. With pen, how fun is that? I think this, a couple attempts here. This was very lightly drawn, which is nice that I'm getting away from all those super hard lines of the past. But I think this is based on some crazy young lady that I knew back in 8th grade. Anyway, yeah, Star Wars. Things I imagined and characters that were obscure that I had an affinity for. Interesting, like a Dragon Ball Z character with ridiculous muscles and who knows what he's doing, but goofy hair, right? Anime style hair. Anime, just barely even understanding what anime was at the time. Oh, yeah, a creature. And I think I was drawing this with color because I had actually a vision about what this would look like. Either I dreamed it in like a nightmare, but I had this really cool idea that like in a Star Wars scenario, like a ship crashing into an asteroid, and there'd be these like horrifying monsters that were just like crawling aboard the ship from the asteroid, eating people. Terrifying. And it was all inspired by this like one scene in one computer game. I was like the Mysteries of the Sith, the Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight sequel. And anyway, there was this sound effect that, to my mind, sounded kind of like this horrifying language. And I pictured these things being intelligent and also devouring the passengers of the ship. Then on to spiritual things, right? Temple on a hill, and people calling to others, saying, come to the temple. This is from the book of Isaiah. because I was attending early morning seminary at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and either for a task of some sort, like a little, not a quiz, what's the word I'm looking for, an assignment. We were supposed to do these different activities, and one was to draw, and so drawing came easy for me. Yes, a vision, perhaps just something I imagined, right? Maybe a dream that I had of my friend James. James was super interested in ninjutsu and studied it way more than I did, and he drew this one drawing, I think, of himself as a ninja, and the drawing wasn't anatomically accurate, but it was so stylish and interesting looking. I always kind of pictured this oddly shaped figure as a ninja, and this vision I had of all these like 6 different swords, 4 different swords or whatever, stuck through his back, and yet the ninja and the art of endurance was able to endure even being stabbed right through his body and surviving anything. He's on the ledge looking up at this like post aftermath of the war. Thought it was kind of a cool character idea. Ooh, and another rare color drawing, the Red Mage, inspired by probably most certainly the Final Fantasy world out there, but the shading is super cool. Also, the shading of the crisscross of the straw hat, and the eyes, a little bit of eyes, and the shading around the nose right there. Still imperceptible features. Super cool. I really dig that one, actually. Ooh, and this is a pretty cool bad guy here. Let me lift up the page so that one behind it doesn't show through. Pretty cool, like, dark Jedi sort of bad guy going on here. Kind of hard to tell, but there's just, like, from under his cloak, he's, like, turned on the lightsaber. You can't see his hands, but there's just, like, light coming out from under his sleeve, and kind of a, I don't know, scarred, or reminds me of, like, the old images of lepers who had leprosy in the old world and wrapped their faces with different cloth. Kind of creepy. Creepy is good. Yes, a little thought on hands. Pros, right? Hands, just like everything else, have 2 sides. Many of our talents have to do with our hands, and that is what they should be used for. Nothing upsets me more than when someone uses their gifts or their hands for evils. Nothing. Interesting thought. Yeah, I think I saw the realities of life a little bit more and began to stop and ponder about frustrations I had with my own issues in life and the issues of those around me. I wished things could be better. Little did I know how to address those many issues that I saw in the world, and still really don't know. Interesting, little phrases here I started including with some drawings. When are we gonna win? This character, little success in the hair I thought was cool. Maybe the posture, but anatomy is not quite there yet. The body's a little too thick, and again, the missing eyes. You just see white. I'm not sure what this is based on. Oh, you know what? I think it was based on, not surprising, Dragon Ball Z. A silhouette of one of the giant ape Super Saiyan levels or something. But I just really like the silhouette look right there. Kind of creepy. Again, I think I saw this on that Cowardly Dog show on Nickelodeon or whatever. It was just like a brief background shot of a riot, not a riot, but a people coming with the pitchforks and torches to come kick you out. What is that group called? Those guys that do that in times when they're persecuting people. I don't know. But anyway, really like that. Again, it's a copied idea, not necessarily mine. So I always felt like I was cheating when I did things like this. But it's kind of a cool thing to think that I saw something that I liked and picked it out of a show that I normally wouldn't have something artistic about it necessarily. But props to whoever the artist originally was. Goku and Krillin, first attempts at drawing anime characters were kind of rough. Yes, a quick sketch of my friend having fallen asleep with his head angled the opposite way his legs were, pressed up against a wall. By the way, we always, with me and my friend, always preferred to have like a futon or just a bed directly on the floor instead of having a raised bed at all. I don't know what the reason was, maybe because it was more Asian feeling, more Japanese. A tree. I call this one negative because the sun is like shining blackness, shining shade. I don't know how this works. But I was not really ever big on drawing scenery. Something whoa, Zach. A nude image. I don't think I was copying this from anything. I can't tell. Then on to, let's see, this was a sketch of a photo of a singer who would do these Celtic songs. I don't remember her name now. She's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I don't think this turned out looking like her, and the picture itself didn't actually, the photo of her didn't really look like her very much. But it was super cool. Not sure why I had a scripture reference in there, but I really liked how it turned out. Great eyes, really great eyes in this drawing. Faye Falling Along, from I would call it an obscure video game. Again, something I never played, just as a watch being played. But cool character, interesting posture and clothing. You know, that hair, Japanese anime hair. Another clothing design. This is kind of fun. Check that out. Okay, so this is a Fiona Apple portrait done by someone else that I found online, and then I copied it. And so this is not my idea. This is a very cool idea, but definitely not mine. So again, I was cheating, but hey, for copying and not tracing, that turns out pretty cool, right? Every one of those times it taught me something. Oh, this is great. So there was a little at a church. They have this these activities for the youth, and so the young women one time had a little modest fashion show, and I was doing some like quick sketches of everyone that walked out on the stage, right? And I was doing it so rapid fire. Like by the time they had walked out, I had sketched an overall shape and remembered what they were wearing, so that I would draw some rough examples of it. Again, another one of those models. Yet another one of those models right there. It's kind of fun how quick I learned how to draw. Yet another one. Super cool. Oh, and so this was a sketch of a ballerina. I think I have the actual page. Yeah, right here. Check it out. In the back, the reference that I printed out. Arm was a little long feeling, but you know, the hair being obscured by the bright light and blending into the background turned out really cool. I don't think I quite got the angle of the face, and the nose, but I just thought that was absolutely stunning, and I loved it. I think I had a couple of those references in the back. Let's see. Some dragon character, anthropomorphic dragon man. The Emperor's throne room from Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. Cannot do without. Now that I can shade, right? And some hand practice. I was probably practicing looking at my own hand, or guessing what my hand looked like. Didn't spend a whole lot of time on either of those. The eyes, yes. I really was like interested in the shapes of eyes and the different colors. My eyes, and someone I had met from a different side of the state. But my eyes typically were blue around the outside with a gold ring. So the black people made it look like it was an eclipse. And this person that I knew briefly had, I think it was green with a brown ring around the middle and a brown ring around the outside. Super gorgeous, stunning eyes. Gundam. Who didn't like Gundam winged big robots, right? Check this out. This was Gillian Anderson. Gillian Anderson was Scully from the X-Files, and that was the drawing that I was copying. I think I just found it online and just thought, thought it was like such a sweet look on her face, and had to draw it. And I think I did successfully capture that she was smiling there, laughing out loud. I was really angry. I remember when people said, "It looks like she's singing," because I thought, that's the dumbest pose to be singing in. Figures. Okay, this is fun. Me, my friend getting angry at me, and our other friend standing in between us to defend. Yes, it has no use. I named this one. This is Musashi, who in one of the histories, Miyamoto Musashi, stepped on, I think it was the history, put it in one version, stepped on his sword. That was a guy who, I don't remember his name, he did the swallow strike, or whatever it was called. So Musashi goes out to the island, he carves a boken out of the ore that he's traveling out there with, takes a nap, he gets there late, psychs out the guy that was ready for the duel. He was 3 hours late to the duel, and he just runs up to him, and this guy, the opponent, famous guy with his swallowtail strike, that no one knows what it is. I just recently found out no one knows what that strike looked like. His special move he tries doing, it cuts Musashi's head wrap, which falls to the ground, but before he does that, he throws away the sheath. And Musashi says to him something that can be interpreted a couple of different ways. It has no use, like you won't be needing that sheath anymore, or something to the effect of like you should have kept it with you because you could use the sheath to help you fight, or something. But regardless, the moment where Musashi hits him one strike and ends the battle. This I was copying from a church magazine, I believe. Be Thou Humble, one of my favorite hymns, and this young woman in a nightgown, kneeling by a chair, praying. Really, really sweet moment there. Let's see. More outfit designs. This is myself. My crazy haircut. Thought I was a Jedi, which maybe I still am. I think it's the same ballerina. Let me see if I have a reference to what this one would look like. I don't know if I have a reference still. Here was the reference of the Fiona Apple drawing, so I was copying that one. Printed it out. Here it is. Check it out. Hold on, everybody. Yeah, that's the same exact ballerina. This was from a magazine somewhere, apparently Cosmopolitan. I don't know where I got that or why. Probably at the library. That's what it was. Where you'd pay like a quarter, 10 cents or whatever, to print out things at the library. And I just found these examples of things to draw. I think it really helped that it was in black and white. I don't think I ever focused very much on the shading though. As you can see, the shading on her face versus here. Something I never ever could see the same way. Shading underneath the arm, but there were plenty of opportunities for some shading that I kind of missed, and I think that's because I really wasn't understanding light yet. light was something that I really understood how you can paint with it when I went to film school, and not just in film school, but I remember reading with the head of our film department from these books. I think it was a famous cinematographer who said he began to look at everything differently because he could see how light was falling on things, and I still couldn't imagine what that was, even though I read it, even though I heard that this is what the famous Roger Deakins did when he was younger. He began to see light differently in the world around him. But in fact, it was when I was on the set of an independent film, and I was a swing or best boy doing the work of grip and gaffer in those two different departments. Over like an 18-day period, I began to see light differently. It hit me, and since then, I've been trying to capture that also in my drawing as well as my cinematography. I think this is from a dream that I had. Some blonde female in this bizarre outfit, alien-like outfit, very, very strange. But I seem to remember the scene in a dream that I had. Not mine. I don't draw hearts, and I don't draw romantic things. I don't know who that was. No, I do know who that was, and she was not a love interest, I promise. Just a friend. This was a friend of mine ice skating. That looked okay. Some other things probably inspired from things I saw in different movies. Yeah, just some random stuff that didn't work out. I eventually adopted something where I would draw a line next to a drawing that didn't work out to say that did not look good, or a circle next to one that I approved of. This one I just wrote cursed because I really hated how this dog wolf looked like. Maybe I was trying to draw a white fang or something. The silhouette. Okay, so I think I'm borrowing this type of silhouette approach from that other drawing from earlier with the silhouettes, but this is my friend Louis that I grew up with. I would draw my friends in their most ultimate action poses from my favorite, possibly my favorite story of all time, Final Fantasy VII, Aerith and Cloud, and this moment. It was really interesting where there's this little flash on screen after he says, I was, and then he remembers something, and to find out later on that he was remembering it very differently. But anyway, back to the art style, less about my nostalgia. This art style is really different. It wasn't based on anything necessarily, but it was trying to be its own style, trying to do something similar with the eyes. Taking that same character, Aerith, the flower girl, and trying something a little bit different. Surrounding, focusing on the character by adding all this, mess around it with all this shading. The shading that I did on the face turned out fairly well. Again, you'll always notice that I try to avoid correcting the appendages. I practiced a couple of times, but I never could find a simple way to do it, and that was the least interesting part. It was always the face that I was interested in, until it turned into the body, and then I was interested in the anatomy and that sort of thing. Some guy at an interesting angle facing the camera, maybe with his sword in front of him, but I failed to continue. This is a cool one. I copied this, but it was from a Star Wars something, and this one, the shading was wildly good. So cool. Shading was great. Look at how the shading worked. And so I was actually one of the few times interested in shading, but I could only do it if I was copying a drawing. I could see the technique and what was done. Otherwise, I just kept things very flat looking. Boba Fett, I think, from Shadows of the Empire, these characters. Jean from what's the name of that 1990s anime? I loved his outfit. Thought it was super cool. He was from Outlaw Star. Yes. That was really cool when I got to watch it on TV. I thought it was a little less cool when I got to watch it on DVD later on. I think I was just drawing this from imagination. Working on some anatomy turned out okay, but still not accurate. But not bad for, was it 2001 somewhere? This was another reference. I think we got it right here. It's interesting. This is the same ballerina from that article, but this one, she turned out kind of Asian looking, and definitely doesn't have that very European look to her eyes and eyebrows. So I like that. Actually, like the accident that happened there. But anyway, on to the next one. My nephews. This one I thought turned out exactly like my nephew. Still not anatomically spot on, not correct. It's them playing in my backyard at my house in Pennsylvania. Oh, this is really a sweet one. Check that out. Nice shading. A woman covering up with her eyes closed. She's in all these covers. One blanket, maybe. She's her shoulder shows she's wearing clothing underneath it, but she is covering up and is posing there. I don't think this is based on anything necessarily. Maybe something I saw once, but definitely pulled this from my mind and put it on paper. Really liked how that turned out. I would draw my group of friends sometimes, and this was them, or an attempt at them in different versions. Yes, this was a combination of myself. Sometimes I put myself in a story, so this was a character that my one friend, Jessie, every time I would reach out to her, she'd pretend she had not every time, but she would pretend she had a secretary named Jenna, and I would talk to Jenna as if this was a real person, and we would, kind of play out these scenarios of me like walking into her office and me describing what I would do, like trying to get in touch with my friend Jessica, who was really busy, and there's Jenna giving a stern answer to me as I'm being overbearing on the desk. This was a copy from, I think, maybe an art book that of Shiva, and this was a stonework that I was copying. So I think that's how the shading turned out the way it did. But it's kind of an interesting, rare one. I was interested in all these Eastern cultures, but I didn't usually do something like this where I was copying stone. Thought this was a very creepy and interesting character. And when something shows off a lot of anatomy, there's a lot of detail to draw. Skateboarding with masks, apparently. I don't know where this originated from, but my title for this one is I'm a Skater! Woo! Let's see. Adoration. It's different characters, different interesting outfits. His face. It's probably something I didn't like after I'd finished it, but props to me for trying different sketchy, quick movements with very graphite-y type of pencils. Yes, I had envisioned this scene for the song, this Celtic song called "The Rights of Man," and I really loved it. Late '90s, early 2000s, everything in the Highlands seemed to be really popular in films, with various different movies that were coming out. But yeah, someone riding on a horse. I really like this one. I felt like this was a really strong expression of emotion. This is myself, and in adolescence there are so many turbulent emotions you can't put your finger on, and parents are doing their best to try to make sense and stay on top of things with you, but there's always a side of things that I think parents aren't let in on. And if anything, I would hope that we can reach the point where, as someone said, this Russian man said when I was visiting Moldova last year, he said, you have to kill the sun. And what he's referring to was, I don't mean to always get philosophical when I'm showing off these things, but I do kind of want to get into what I was thinking and what inspired certain things that I needed to get out of my artistic system and onto paper to show, even if I wasn't showing a lot of people. But kill the sun means eliminate the relationship of parent and child. It means become friends instead of just being a son to your father or to your mother. To become friends is this ultimate next level goal, which I hope that everyone gets to achieve in their life. A copy of a front of a ninjutsu history book. I always thought it was cool. I didn't finish it, certainly, but this ninja like drops out of his cloak as two people are trying to stab it with their katana. Myself, another self-portrait. The guy that was always willing to model for me. 2002. That was pretty accurate. This is kind of interesting. Either this is how I viewed myself, or this was how I really looked, but I don't think this is based on a photo. And so it's interesting to look at what I thought of myself here. And you know, I think at that time I was really muscular, more so than I am now. Oh, this is a copy of the like cover art on the book of The Princess Bride, and I just loved. I just never finished it because I'm lazy, and I think girls are significantly more interesting to draw than men. Still, they're just more attractive to me. Sorry, but they are always more graceful, and grace is something that is just so much. I think skin is more clear and pure. You don't have to draw stubble. You don't have to draw hulking shapes. You get to draw something that has a flow to it, and I think that's why artists have frequently focused on the female figure, and that's why I really love this one. I think I really nailed this copy, even though it was a copy. It turned out really, really, really cool. A rare scenery shot somewhere in Asia. It looks like they have a Chinese or Japanese hat guy fishing there, and someone in a long kimono, and the pagoda, the trees, the mountains. Ah, yes. And then my favorite temple in our church, the Washington, D.C. temple, visible from the highway, with the golden angel with the trumpet on the very top. Very cool. Ah, yes. The Empress. Yes, and the throne room of the Empress. My friend Jessie. Again, we always refer to her as the Empress in our imaginary world of Empress, bodyguard, and general, which is our friendship in this imagined universe. But check out these overlapping like weaves going up the chair, coming out of the front of this dress, right on the chest there. These weaves overlap, and the cloth ripples out and just like floats in this slow wave. And yeah, really interesting idea. I think I thought of something like that from watching like a movie from the early 2000s that had something to do with all these flowing robes in a big throne room. Ah, yes. A polar bear in the winter. Nice. Oh, and can't go without it. It's a picture my dad had to put in here, always, at the end of my sketchbooks. Props, Dad, for always including your own touch. Really cool. My dad couldn't draw women, and he could draw men, but he would draw men that were always rough. And I find this so interesting. I could probably do a full study on his work one of these days. Now, the next picture I'm going to show you is something a little bit sacred. This is kind of interesting. I had this idea in my mind of, I think, the like ideal love of my life or something, or you know, the classic image of the fairies in the movie Willow, the queen of the fairies, Cylindria, I think was her name. And this is a drawing based on that scene, but it was just this sweet and endearing look, and I would actually only allow people to see it under certain lighting in my room. And it's just like such a sweet, tender expression. There's really not much detail in the face. Lots of brightness and glowing, of course, just like in the scene with Cylindria on Willow. But, you know, eyes looking down, not directly at the camera, and a slight smile. Just a very benevolent image. So, and this was a drawing, I believe he may have done in person, or actually I'm thinking this is from a dream that I drew of my friend. And oh yes, check it out. My own version of an Ewok from Star Wars, and this is fun. I don't know where this page was torn out of, but this is the only book, the only drawing tablet that I have that has pages that aren't perforated under here, so I think I went with this. I don't know about the time period though. But I named him Daunt Bamkit, which, you know, kind of goes along with the other goofy names of the Ewoks. This looks like one that I did of a person that was in, a girl that was in my friend Louis' his martial arts class. And I just remember the crazy hair, black with the highlighted bangs, and these like crazy dark makeup patches around the eyes, raccoon style. So there's an attempt to draw someone. Looked kind of funky in the end. Yes, the the locusts coming out of the bottomless pit in the Book of Revelations, back when I was taking everything literally in the Bible. Not recommended, just FYI. And I think I may have seen this in a Star Wars something. I don't remember, but lots of shading. Definitely a big mess making this. And you know, it looks like trouble for her. She doesn't look like she's gonna fare very well there. Yes, some sort of maybe like an Adam Eve scene or a Native American scene back in America when things used to be pure, not industrialized. Again, I was never very happy with my scenery. It just looked, you know, got my lines that outlined everything. Shading was very second thought. Yeah, right. My friend Louis and his character called Utah Jones, spelled U-T-A-W Jones. Utah Jones. Interesting mercenary in the Star Wars world. He had instead of a parrot on his shoulder, he had a Kowakian monkey lizard with an eye patch. And instead of an R2-D2, he had a barely functioning R2 unit called R0, which is absolutely brilliant. I always thought he came up with just such hilariously unique ideas and endless dialogue. He was a really good storyteller. Luke with R2-D2 looking up to the twin suns. Little did I know how Star Wars is going to turn out. This is almost going to be something. Not sure what this was based on. Doesn't look like I was copying anything. Definitely focused on the hand thing. I think I had seen one version of that hand, and I just kept going with it. big mess, and then references. That's how I typically do it, you know? References in the back. That's it. Hope you enjoyed.